What's up, guys? It's Jughead here, just a down-to-earth guy, trying to bring you some down-to-earth content. Welcome back to my Let's Watch Hunter x Hunter series. Today, we're going to be watching episode 40, the Big 4-0, titled Nen Users Unite. Last episode, Kurapika arrived at this mansion to get hired as a human trophy collector, and around him are a handful of other Nen users, two that we've seen, the poet and I forget the Baise, the hot girl, chef's kiss. They are all together trying to get hired to work with the human trophy collectors, but step one in the interview process is getting out of the mansion alive. And the episode ended with these, I don't know what they were, like ninja looking motherfuckers, just with swords in a pack of like this phalanx formation, just coming to attack them. And then you see the chains start to hover on Kurapika's hands, and shit's about to go down. Nen users unite. They're all going to come together. We're going to see everybody's abilities at once. I hope Kurapika takes the main spotlight though, because I want to see those chains in action. And that's what's going to happen in this episode. I know my last discussion was not a controversial one, but it sparked a lot of discussion because of just my ideas around conjuration and the limitations that surround Kurapika's ability to be who he wants and to do what he wants to do. I'm beginning to understand it better. It's just still kind of confusing me, especially the discussion between transmutation and conjuration, because of the whole omnipotence being impossible thing. Because to me, transmutation doesn't follow that same rule. Transmuters can mimic materials, mimic the properties, mimic the substances with their aura, while it seems conjurers, they actually change their aura literally into those materials, substances, and objects. Like Kurapika could make rubber chains if he wanted to, but why? Because they'd be just as useless as regular rubber chains, like if you just chain linked rubber bands together. Well, Hisoka, for example, he can alter his aura to have properties of rubber and gum, meme, at the same damn time. But as we've seen when he fought Gon, the properties like stickiness, flexibility, durability, they far exceed that of real rubber or gum. It seems to go past the omnipotence or beyond human means, which is the main limitation of Kurapika. That is what is weird to me. It feels like conjurers are limited while transmuters not really. And that's just what is kind of racking up in my head. The other thing though that I'm really starting to get the hold of now is thinking of Nen as this conscious entity, this conscious substance that's tied to the host body, that it understands the emotions and the willpower of its host. It's a symbiotic relationship, and it has a consciousness. It has an awareness. So Nen is influenced by willpower, by emotion, by drive, and I'm really starting to get that understanding through Kurapika. I'm waiting for the actual episode to arrive where I can start talking about that more, because I want to discuss these theories as ideas. I started to get these ideas when we first got introduced with like the promise rings, and then the etchings and the symbols on the Nen box that Gon got from Jing, that they both display this idea of willpower, promise, intent, conditions, and almost, I don't know what it's like, vows and conditions are these aspects that I've been forming in my head, and something that can escalate power, that can just shoot your abilities to the moon or something. Like willpower, promises, intent, emotion, you're vowing the risking the risk involved or risking your life or something like that may have something to do with this entire thing, that until it gets confirmed to me, it's a what if and a doubt in my mind, or just a theory. But if it can become canon and it become an actual story element, then I'm just gonna go off the rails. And then my discussions, I'm gonna understand it so much better. Don't tell me if I'm wrong or right, just me talking in the intro right now. But I just have this idea of imbuing yourself. Is imbuing the right word? I-M-B-U-E, imbue. Imbuing yourself with power, with the vowing and the promises and the intent and the willpower. Because the aura inside you can sense that, and it gets channeled more. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I can just think of Star Wars and the Force in that way. But yeah, that's my idea here. But I want to see if we're going to get that in this episode, or if we're going to start getting that now that we're focusing on Kurapika some more. I don't know. I just wanted to say that because I wrote that in my comments of last episode, and I want to see if we're going to get that in this episode. No more talking out of me. I just want to see Kurapika in action here. Let's go. 5 seconds. We're getting in. So, Hunter x Hunter, episode 40, the big 4-0. Nen users unite in 3, 2, 1. Let's get into this, man. Get out of the way. Let me press play. I don't know his name yet. We know it's 1 month until the auction. I love the quick recaps, because it's been a while since I watched, since episode 39 for me. Kurapika having to get the scarlet eyes, man. I'm still so confused by that. Eyes that have already been harvested or freshly harvested eyes, because he's the only remaining one. And my theory, is he gonna gouge his own fucking eyes out to display ultimate loyalty to truly infiltrate? That's my theory. Is he gonna do self-sacrifice like that? Which, that willpower, that risk, with the extent you're willing to go to, your Nen and your aura is gonna feel that and be aware of that as a conscious energy, and it's gonna channel you to be even more powerful. What you lose in your physical sense, you gain in your Nen abilities. Like some Daredevil type shit. And here come the fucking ninjas. Dude, do you hear how fucking hyped I am? Hey, Baise. Let's see this shit in action. That's so fucking cool. What the fuck? I'm pausing. I don't know why I didn't think about this. You have 5 fingers. It's not going to be one fucking chain. It's going to be 5 different chains with 5 different abilities on it. Okay. I'm seeing this. Dowsing chain, the guiding ringer chain. Don't know what that means. Let's go into theory mode. Let's go into prediction mode. You're gonna have a healing chain. I just feel it. You're gonna try and get those enhancer abilities because you love enhancement so much, and you have to do a healing chain, I feel. Just to have that. Maybe you're gonna have like a tell the truth chain. I don't know. I don't know how you would do that, where you like force someone to take the chain. I mean, to tell the truth. I don't know, like a truth potion type thing, like inject or something. You're gonna have some Spirit of Vengeance, Ghost Rider type action, where it's either gonna be you're gonna like chain them down and like they have to submit to you. Do you like? And they're just rendered completely useless, kind of like in Ghost Rider, where he would wrap his chain around like a demon, and their powers would just be completely lost. I forgot I had my eyes closed, and I was wondering, like, why is it so dark? I have my eyes closed. It's going to be like some Spirit of Vengeance shit. It's going to have some, like, hell, heaven, curse energy. I don't know. Hexing, I don't know. Like, chain them down to hell, he said. There's going to be a chain that's like that. It's going to be like, imprisoning them, I don't know. And like a life steal or a power steal, like you harness their own aura or you steal something, I don't know. So healing, imprisonment, truth telling or something, and then the other two, I don't know. One of them is just going to be pure attack, right? One of them just has to be pure attack. But I don't know what the other one's going to be. But let's go into the episode. No more talking. Dowsing Chain. That just looks badass. Why do they have guns? That's cheating. Nen users unite. That's cool. Manipulator. Guy's fucking dead. That's sad. That's fucking badass. That's fucking sick. That has to be enhancement, right? That's sick. So that's the Dowsing Chain with the ball. I already remember, I forgot, he's a skilled martial artist. So he already has that in his pocket. He's already got that. 3 with guns, 6 with, see, that conjure personality analysis that I did. Nobody's more aware. What's this guy's power? All we saw is him charge. I don't even need to use my Nen. Just power punch. What's going on? 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 Tell me. Fill me in. What a bad bitch. She's hot. Oh! Is it all conjurers? All of these people are fake. There's only one real one. Wait, what? Oh. What the fuck? Ni. Son. Who the fuck are you? Ah, what would that be? Manipulate or emission or what? It didn't feel like... Yeah, I was hitting aura shaped like a human. How did he realize it was him? Because you weren't doing anything. Only person not under attack. Nobody's more observant than a conjurer. Jumped on the chandelier. 2 behind. Sword swinging. Oh. Yeah, I was wondering, why do these people look like fucking idiots? Attack the nearest enemy. They're given a motive. They're given a direction. But past that, because it's very simple. Yeah. It would take a skilled Nen user to make it more... to have greater fidelity. Yeah. To control 11 people like that. Yeah, you're a manipulator. You're not skilled enough. Yeah. So not very powerful. Very observant. I'm not remembering that name. Okay. All those chains, but at the end of the day, she still got the blade. Nope. Conjure, motherfucker. Nobody could believe that he can conjure chains like that. Maybe some like 4. Is he not even real? Oh, hell. Use another one of your chains. I want to see. Dowsing chain. Cool. What is that supposed to do? Is it... Which one of my theories is going to come correct? Is it going to move when there's somebody lying or somebody fake, or what's going on? The dog guy. Dog man. Huh? Oh! What does that mean? What does that mean? Who are you? How does it know? Oh my god, my discussion's gonna be so fucking insane. It's like a judgment chain. Dowsing was originally a technique for locating water or metals underground. Yep. That's how I know dowsing. Ugh. You can sense that shit. She creeps me the fuck out. Yeah, flight or fight response. What the fuck? Are we like leading an orchestra or what? Typical melody of a liar. Doesn't make it not true. Yeah, they saw each other. You still have to get out of the goddamn mansion. I will have to settle this matter on my own. How you doing that? By writing a haiku? Or what? Is this a part of his nen abilities? Everything that comes into contact with my fist will completely burn. Is he writing a condition down? Like an if-and statement like Excel. Yep. You're writing conditions. It's like coding. Hmm. When I read a haiku, it happens. There's your explanation. I still don't really understand. I only understand that there's like... It's like writing code. Yep, any person who responds untruthfully to my question will burn. You're writing conditions, which makes it more powerful because of how limited it is. That's what Kurapika's doing. You're fucked. You can't mess with Nen in this way. My theory's starting to come together. My idea of conditions and vows and coding in a sense. If this is that where conjurers get most of their power, limitations are actually they actually imbue you with more power, so you want to limit yourself. Squala. What do you mean? How can you be a hunter without the license? A lot of manipulators here. She's walking. Kiss him. Kiss him. Kiss him. Kiss him. Kiss him. There you go. Wow! I love that sound. God, she's hot. Why are there so many manipulators? Same. Simp. Hot. Step on me. Yep, same. I'll gladly get stepped on if that's what I'm looking up at. Yeah. Told to nip at a target's feet to slow them. Saint Bernard smothers the target. Okay, Beethoven. Damn. Hey, Kurapika's got a new squad. I'm liking this. That's a powerful looking squad right here. Not permanently. Baise. Basho, that's his name, Basho. 2 conjurers, 2 manipulators, which means to kiss or fuck in French. She picked up a table. Conjure. Come on, let's be a little nice. Let's be a little nice. I know you're very private. Yeah, I don't know if we'll be working together or against. So do they all work together to find the designated items? Or is it all like separate? Don't ask the guy who just got turned into a fucking slave. Let me go back a few seconds. I just want to hear that again. Who is him? Who the hell is that? Put him away. Like he's a fucking doll? What the is that a gag around his mouth? Like, they fucking bound your mouth so you can't talk? Or was his mouth fucking gone? If I find one of the objects and earn the contract... Yep. What are you finding? Are you gonna try and find the eyes, or are you gonna give up your own eyes? The fit goes hard. Tops, yep. One of the top 7 like wonders of the world. Look at that. He's smoking. Utterly annihilate them. That emotion getting harder to control. What the hell? Kukuru Mountain? He's got homing eagles? Not even homing pigeons, homing eagles. There's your sex doll. Okay. Is that the code to the Greed Island game that he got? Cool. Dude, I feel like Maluki's getting involved in some shit that's gonna wind him up fucking dead. Cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, you have to. I forgot what the other end of the deal was. Sending them to the dark web, hunter only website. You'll fucking get killed. There's Gon and Killua on the ship. I'm liking Killua's new fit. Yeah, they're still weeks away. What are you gonna do until then? Everybody with their new abilities? Maybe you should start figuring out your own abilities, you know? Kurapika left his teacher with already knowing what he wanted to do. These two left Wing not with a care in the fucking world, don't even know what the hell they want to do with themselves. All they know is that they're a transmuter and a enhancer. They don't even know what they want to do with their abilities. There's the eagle. There's your end of the bargain. Like a fucking Hedwig coming in. Let's enter the dark web. Driven by their various goals. September 1st. What are we going to discover when the York New auction begins? So, let's discuss. First things first, want to show this off. Look at this. Look at this. New shirt. I'm loving it. Just got it. It's a little over dyed, but I like that because it'll just take a few washes for the dye to fade out and it'll be perfect, but I'm hype. It's the old 90s style too, which is dope, but just want to show off there real quick. I actually watched and recorded episode 40 maybe 2 weeks ago, and I'm only now getting to this discussion here. I'm sitting here literally a day before I want to upload to my channel. I don't even know if I'm going to make that. So fun fact for you watching, if all goes well, this will be the closest a recording has ever come to release date. Usually I record edit for a couple days, then upload. But if you're watching this on Saturday, May 1st, I am currently talking on April 30th, just the night before. I wanted to prepare for my discussion and finish this earlier in the week, but to be honest, the second dose of the vaccine completely and utterly knocked me on my ass. I couldn't do it. I'm still feeling like, I don't know, 10%, 20% garbage right now as I speak. So forgive me if I look like shit or I sound different or if I'm talking a little bit quieter or you may see some more cuts as I need to drink more water more often. I'm going to try and get through this as best I can. This is still going to be a very good discussion. I'm just going to be operating at a much lower frequency than I usually do. I do think this will be a good discussion. A lot of brainstorming going to be going on here for sure. And a lot of predictions and guessing. I do want to suggest you check out my episode 0 film class discussion I uploaded earlier in the week about the 7 basic plots, where I thoroughly went into the archetypes of storytelling and explaining my own ability to analyze stories and characters and make the predictions that I do make. I always get a lot of remarks on that in the comment sections of each episode. So there's an hour-long discussion dedicated to just that. I would really appreciate it if you check that out too. Just even a bit, get the views up on that, drop some likes on it, just engage with it more. I would really appreciate that. I'm going to be passing, glossing over, or possibly even just ignoring the plot in most of this discussion because it was pretty straightforward. I really want to focus next to everything on our characters, namely Kurapika, of course, but I also need to reserve a lot of time dedicated to predictions of concepts like conditions, limitations, and then diving into Kurapika's abilities. So let's not waste any more time. I already know this is going to be like an hour long discussion, maybe. We have to talk about Kurapika's chains, the first time we're seeing them utilized. I'm so dumb. I don't know why I thought it was just going to be a single chain. It makes so much more sense, and it is so much cooler that he instead conjures 5 individual unique chains that extend from each finger. That's what it looks like to me now that I'm actually looking at it from that perspective, which I presume each possess their own specific ability. So essentially, Kurapika has at least 5 Nen techniques. I don't know if he has them all fledged out now or he's still growing that and building that as he goes. The first and only one we see this episode is what Kurapika called, or what was referred to as, his Dowsing Chain. This is most likely his primary. It's also called the Guiding Ring Finger Chain. So the Dowsing Chain is connected to his ring finger. I know the term dowsing already. It's really interesting, actually, taking a concept from real world cultural, spiritual practices and molding it into the power system and Kurapika's ability here in Hunter x Hunter. I know the term dowsing as in, like, being similar to, dowsing crystals or pendulum dowsing alongside other divinatory arts like tarot reading or flame gazing, which of course in real life are all a crock of shit, but in the world of Hunter x Hunter, different story. What you can imagine can not only be possible, but powerful. Dowsing Chain literally just looks like a wrecking ball hanging from his fingers. First thing I thought of was Chain Chomp from Super Mario. This will likely be his primary weapon or ability, as I said, as it seems to be the most useful and relevant in almost all normal situations. It's only logical they would showcase the most basic, straightforward one of the 5 first. Kurapika used it to catch and deflect bullets fired at him. So we see obvious defensive capability and uses to match any clear-cut offensive purposes, But it's called a dowsing chain for a reason, and in this case, was used to determine whether or not someone is lying or telling the truth. A lie detector of sorts. If taking additional inspiration as it has from real life dowsing in certain cultures, I presume Kurapika can also use this dowsing chain to, locate missing people or lost objects or seek to receive answers to questions he asks, almost similar to a Ouija board. Now, I don't know if the chain itself is detecting whether or not someone is lying, and Kurapika is simply reading off the pendular movements, or is the dowsing chain reacting to Kurapika himself, subtly but effectively still detecting that someone is lying? He may not even realize it. That dowsing chain might not even be doing the work itself, but instead, through intense focus to not only conjure the chain itself, but determine the truth, he is unconsciously or subconsciously able to tell if someone's lying. And all the dowsing chain is doing is visually representing that in a way, telling Kurapika, hey, you got it. Because otherwise, Aura simply being able to read another human like that is pretty crazy, and I'll be honest, OP. So I wouldn't be surprised if the second explanation I had is the actual one, but I wouldn't be surprised also if there isn't actually an answer to this. Like, even Dagashi might have just said, fuck it to that, too hard, we keep it moving, I'm not going to even bother. Now, Kurapika still got 4 more fingers, 4 more chains, 4 more abilities. I only paused during my reaction to try and brainstorm a quick list together, so let's expand upon that a little more here and make some more educated, in-depth predictions now that I can just sit here and talk. I believe the first one I said was some sort of healing chain. Kurapika, as we know, was disappointed in the fact he is a conjurer and not an enhancer, and envies such abilities that would seemingly be most straightforwardly useful for achieving his goals. Kurapika has to live in and deal with reality. He's a conjurer, but I know him to be a very adaptable character. He is still 60% proficient in enhancement abilities, right? 2 steps away is 60%, right? I know he would want to incorporate and utilize some of that goodness. So I'm just thinking it's a safe bet. And if he's going the enhancer route, why healing? Because when I think of enhancement, I think of healing first and foremost. If I was an enhancer, the first ability I would want to try to develop is a way to keep me alive, keep me strong, and keep me in the fight for as long as possible. And as we've seen with Gon, I think healing would balance out his abilities perfectly. Kurapika is out to punish, deal judgment, inflict pain on his enemies. His other chains serving as the offensive weapons meant to accomplish such things. But to balance that out, Kurapika is wise and aware enough to remember to include a defensive tool beneficial for himself, but his allies and his friends as well fighting alongside him. I have no idea what would be at the end of this chain, but I imagine the chain would wrap around himself if he's trying to heal himself or an ally, either their entire body, forming a protective shroud while the aura heals them overall, or around a specific limb or area of the body. Like, so many people be breaking their arms in this show so far, right? Say Gon breaks his arm yet again. Wait, that's a bad example because he's an enhancer. He could just heal himself. Never mind. Leoriel, back when he was poisoned by those snakes, and the only thing that could heal him was that antidote. Instead, what I think, Kurapika could extend his healing chain and revive him or heal him of the poison. Or somebody gets stabbed. The chain wraps around their gut and cures that wound. Obviously, there would have to be some limitations to this, and is probably directly correlated to how much aura is expelled or used. I don't know. Like you can't heal an otherwise fatal wound unless Kurapika is maybe like in specialist mode, in which maybe specialist mode cranks all of your abilities up to 11 or something, and then fatally serious injuries are healed. Otherwise, it's more like, say you get a bullet wound to the arm, not fatal, but would still render that person incapacitated. The healing chain can wrap around their arm, cover the wound, and cure such a less serious wound like that. I think my second guess was like a truth serum or something that I said. I can't remember. I'm going based off memory. I haven't even looked at my edited project to go back or anything, but I think that's what I said. But I guess that would tie exactly into the dowsing chain since we used it for that precise purpose. Kurapika literally said there are people he needs to chain down to hell. When I think of chains, I think of enslavement, to be bound down, to be chained down or chained up, like how Kilo was chained up in his Zoldyck torture dungeon. So I think some form of imprisonment through chaining down ain't a far stretch, really. Like, I either imagine it like King Kong, where each limb is chained down separately, or Kurapika just extends that chain super long, since he can do that, and maybe hog ties them, or how, like, Spider-Man would shoot a web at a person, just smothering them down. Kurapika smothers his target, just wrapping the fuck out of them with his chains, like a spider wrapping his prey in gossamer. And have you guys ever watched Supernatural? This, I think, will be a good reference. If so, do you remember when Dean died and was sent to hell? And there was that scene that showed him suffering in hell, literally suspended in almost infinite space with these huge hooks pierced through his flesh, his shoulders, his sides, his feet. And it was traumatizing to see for the first time. Like, that image is imprinted on my brain. Like, just Dean screaming, crying, and how gory it was to see that. That's what I think of. And oh, I just realized and remembered it's only one chain. Obviously, with one chain, he can't tie a person down from multiple points or from each limb like I first imagined, because that would take multiple chains. He'd have to wrap the one chain around them over and over and over again, smothering them so they physically, like, can't move at all. Okay. So with that, I imagine the chain having a hook at the end. And he cast it out like a fly fisherman, guiding it to his enemy, and it has to wrap multiple times in, different cross directions around the target. And at the very end, exactly how Gon uses his fishing rod. Remember when he was up against Hisoka? Not Hisoka. Who was the Little Red Riding Bane guy? And he hooked the hook right onto that floor panel, and he brought it back up and it flung it up. That's what Kurapika would have to do with his chain. At the very end, he would have to like yank on it like he got like a fly fisherman. Very end, and it pierces the flesh to like latch or hook on, and Kurapika would pull to tighten the chains. That would be dope if it's like one of those, Even if it's like one of those Chinese finger traps, where the more you try to remove your finger, the tighter the trap gets. Or the quills on a porcupine, or some of those creatures that have barbs, like stingrays and I don't know, other freaky ass sea creatures. They're actually reverse serrated. So when they get stuck in the skin, they naturally dig deeper into the muscle, but attempting to pull them out actually does more damage because the barbs are reversed. So if Kurapika's hook would be like that, that would be sick. The more they squirm, the tighter they get restricted. Plus, with Kurapika's with Kurapika probably having enhancement abilities, couldn't he strengthen the chain so that it is next to impossible to break through or break from? Like, this is a big thing I've been thinking of. Like, we saw Killua break through those chains with ease in that dungeon, but Kurapika's chains are not only smaller, but they also have to be human chains, not beyond human ability or reason. He's he's gonna be going after some fucking brutes of men and women. He would have to enhance those chains to make them stronger. So I guess while he cannot conjure diamond chains, for example, as I was theorizing or trying to argue in the previous episode, or unbreakable chains, he can conjure pretty damn strong chains and then strengthen them even further with enhancement. So you got some pretty fucking strong chains, all right. But whoever you trap is also gonna be a Nen user. They could effectively use their own abilities to free themselves either by strength or some intricate technique, or maybe a means of distracting Kurapika and he loses his focus, or they hurt Kurapika. I don't know. So, would those chains, once having trapped Kurapika's target, force the imprisoned prey into some state that either takes away their aura, or what's the basic technique that closes your aura nodes and shuts off your aura? Is that Zetsu? I think it's Zetsu. Kurapika forces Zetsu on his target, so they'd be rendered pretty much useless. Kind of like in X-Men when the mutants get stripped of their powers and they're just human beings. Unless the target's gonna be like fucking Dwayne The Rock Johnson or Arnold Schwarzenegger, no brute strength is gonna be breaking free of that, I imagine. It could be a Zetsu, now that I'm thinking more, it could be a Zetsu technique that renders them powerless. Or what would be even cooler, if I want to advance this even to more crazy thinking, what would be even cooler than just Zetsu power aura nodes turned off? Aura steal. Rather than forcing them to shut off their aura, is it impossible to steal or absorb another person's aura instead? Where then Kurapika gains that aura for himself. Like, if he was at 80% power after using his own, he's become exhausted after a fight, he could restore himself back to 100%, or he could supercharge himself. He could go into overdrive, or you know how like you can overclock your CPU? He could overclock himself beyond 100%. I don't know if that makes sense or if that's even feasible. If that's just simply not how aura works. I don't think he could do that with the imprisoning chain, because it seems to me each chain is going to have their own unique look and their own unique object at the end that actually serves a purpose, as in the Dowsing Chain had the weighted ball. The imprisonment chain, that's what I'm calling it, wouldn't he need something else at the end of that to be able to do that? Like, if he was going to chain someone down, in my mind, there would be a barbed hook on the end. A barbed hook, no real way to draw the aura out. You would need a needle, or a syringe. Or I always say if I imagine or if I picture, because I have a very photographic memory and I think in images and pictures in my mind. But if I picture an aura steel, I picture it being similar to when you go to your doctor and the nurse, you get blood work done by the nurse. The nurse draws a sample of your blood from your vein with a syringe. Same deal here, really. I think if Kurapika wanted to drain his enemy's aura, it would have to be a separate chain because you would need a separate weapon or tool at the end of that chain, which maybe that is the case. I don't know if you can take someone else's aura in the first place, because I think of aura as being an extension of yourself, almost DNA based, but not. I don't know how to, like, in organ transplant or something, your body can reject the transplant if it's not a direct match, and your immune system treats that as a foreign body. Would your body reject somebody else's aura? Like mixing water with oil, a hydrophobic substance, two different auras don't really mix well. Like in Harry Potter, a wizard using somebody else's wand tends to either backfire or just not work as effectively. Maybe aura isn't that advanced. It's surely advanced enough to where I view it as the physical manifestation or physical expression of one's determination or willpower or whatever appropriate word, but maybe not so advanced that aura is so distinguishable in some genetic sense. I don't know. I feel like I'm going too far off the deep end now with that one, so I'll just reel myself back in a bit. And then I do think just when I think of chains and when I see Kurapika, I imagine Ghost Rider. I just think we're going to get some Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance type vibes from Kurapika as well. Something sinister. Everything else has been, it's not vanilla, but it's pretty laid back compared to where I see Kurapika going. I wouldn't be surprised if one of Kurapika's chains is used for leaving a mark on his enemies or staining them, like stamping them, like deeming them unworthy or evil, or like saying I have judged you, and he leaves them with a mark that maybe he can then like track them around the world or forever detect them, or like where they are, what they're doing, like keeping a tabs on them like Big Brother style, or it limits them. You know how like many performance cars come with limiters on them that limit their top speed and limit their performance? Maybe one of the chains pierces them and then leaves like a limiter or a blocker on their aura pathways, preventing someone from either using their aura at all or maybe limiting their abilities. It's cool, but it just doesn't sound sinister enough as I say it. I'm really trying to think sinister. It still sounds too merciful for the vibe I'm getting off Kurapika. Kurapika used the word annihilate, okay? It's not like he's just going to let these people go on about their days of evil without fear for their lives or a serious risk to them. Could he then could he hex someone or curse someone? Sorry, I'm like slow. I'm feeling like, again, I'm operating at reduced battery capacity here with the second dose hitting me. Sorry if I'm like feeling loopy or something. Where was I? Where the word curse or hex. What the fuck does hex even mean? I just know that to be a word. we kind of saw in the episode the concepts of commands and conditions. What if Kurapika was like, you can never kill an innocent person again, and leaves that stamp or mark on their skin or something, you know? And if that order is ever broken, it's like an ink or like a poisonous ink or something, and say they do kill an innocent person again, that mark activates or something and, like, you know, enters their bloodstream and they just straight up die instantly, or they die a painful death. I don't know. That would be sick though. And that would go the sinister route that I see, the sinister, non-merciful route that I see Kurapika going down. So, what is that, 4 or 5? I don't know. I'm not keeping track. I could only be at 4 predictions, and I have another one to make, and I'm too tired to even, my brain to even try, or I accidentally gave Kurapika 6 fingers on accident on his hand, and I'm 1 over and I got to take 1 away. I don't know. Moving on. This, alongside witnessing for the first time, really in a long time, I think since Trick Tower really is the last time I really saw it. First time in a really long time, especially after his evolution into what I would call manhood, the real world, and hunter status, his insane level of perceptiveness and analytical thinking skills. I wouldn't be surprised if I get told he possesses some genius level intellect. No one is more perceptive than a conjurer, let alone Kurapika the conjurer. So, no one is more perceptive than him. And I love to see my original personality analyses get reinforced. In the moment, while he's trying to dodge sword attacks and incoming bullets, he simultaneously is able to scan the environment around him, read the room, computing in his mind, and in just seconds, arriving at a conclusion, confident enough he can whip out his side blade and put it to the neck of the accused. While he's getting attacked, able to see one person that isn't under attack, and after evading, the attackers remain and stay swinging at an empty area, and he could then easily ascertain these to be manipulations. Someone is giving orders to these things. Considering how basic these mercenaries were, must be someone not that skilled of a Nen user by Kurapika standards, as simple commands yield carrying out simple attacks. To be able to control almost a dozen aura-based humans simultaneously and independently with such fidelity that one has a hard time differentiating fake with real, it takes a skilled Nen user, and this was done by, frankly, no such person in Kurapika's eyes, but a manipulator indeed, who had to be in the same room, considering how basic this was. That person isn't skilled enough to be able to do this without being in the same room to remain tethered to their abilities. And boom, without hesitation, puts his blade up to the redhead's throat. Tocino, or something like that. I don't know. I suck at names already, especially stupid names. Only way I remembered that name is because I thought of Totino's Pizza Rolls. I'm gonna be honest. Totino's Pizza Rolls, red sauce. Totino's, Tocino. Red sauce, red hair. Literally the only way I'm remembering that dumb name. Like, your name is Bacon in Spanish, okay? Now, bacon is delicioso, but as a name, it fucking sucks. Or is that his surname and your last name is Bacon? In which I'm not gonna throw shade because Kevin Bacon is a fantastic actor, okay? And Why do I care? I don't even like him. I don't even like him enough to care about his name. Moving on. This couldn't be a more stereotypical memorable just because that when he does eventually die, you at least have some sort of reaction to his death. That man, Tocino, you look at his face for 5 seconds and you go, yeah, he's dying. Tocino just seems overrated. He has seniority over everybody else, but comes off like a pretty shit Nen user. Been working this job for a while rookie Kurapika comes in and reads you like a coloring book. Kurapika's even intelligent enough to break him down to his manipulator class, and powerful enough that his chains appear as though he is also a manipulator, causing Tocino to guess wrong. So he has seniority, but he's a pretty shitty dog water Nen user, and not so very smart or perceptive one at that either. Guesses Kurapika completely incorrectly, and Kurapika stays silent, leading his ego to believe he is correct. That has to be one of the most important traits about a person you want to make sure you get correct. Kurapika benefits from this greatly. People guess his Nen type incorrectly, they suffer the consequences of anticipating an entirely different arsenal of abilities and set of techniques, unaware of the skills you actually possess and false knowledge on how to combat you, you know? Kurapika is easily, possibly my favorite character in the current state of the show. When you are both strong and smart, there's no getting past or outsmarting Kurapika. The IQ and the mature, perceptive mind lend to great dialogue and characterization, but then to have what I predict to be one of the coolest Nen abilities is sure to provide iconic action moments too. And I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes one of the most influential or leading hunters in the association, like an ambassador or a leader. That's what I see him as. Like, I have all of these predictions, but who the hell knows what happens when his scarlet eyes trigger specialist abilities? I'm just talking about normal conjure Kurapika. Then on top of that, you bring into the mix specialist Kurapika. I haven't even gotten into that yet. What happens with his chains then? What happens to him? Do his abilities get more powerful, or does he gain additional abilities, or both? Obviously, something has to be specialized or special, but Kurapika, who can compete with him in badassery right now? No one. At least not yet. No one is as fledged out as him, in my opinion, right now. I'm waiting on you, Killua. So, let's move on to other characters, shall we? Second person who interests me most, Melody for sure. She is very intriguing. During that whole dowsing scene, talking about Squala's heart began to pound as soon as he was accused, an innocent person's heartbeat would steadily rise from the stress of a wrongful accusation, but Squala's immediately went up. The typical melody of a liar, she said. Clearly, she is in tune with heartbeats. She too can read another human being and determine how truthful or not they are by the beating of their hearts. She described Kurapika in a very similar way to Squala, using the same exact word, in fact, her name. She walked past Kurapika and could hear his fearsome heartbeat that plays a melody of rage, whereas Squala's heartbeat played the typical melody of a liar. This is like having perfect pitch, which I wish I had, but I don't, but on steroids. It has to be super hearing. It can't just be, the most specific niche power of all is I can only hear heartbeats. That would be honestly dumb. It has to be super hearing, like an actual supernatural ability, like Superman's super hearing. How did she obtain this ability, though, is a complete mystery because it sure as hell ain't Nen based. I don't even know where that would fit. Her name is Melody, as in an instrumental melody in music. She describes sounds as if it were song or music. We know different hunter professions exist: blacklist hunters, archaeology hunters, gourmet hunters. Would it be appropriate? Can I call her a music hunter? She also really be freaky looking, okay? Something fucked up had to have happened to her ass for real. Because we've seen a whole lot of fucking people in this story so far, and every single person so far has been a regular looking human being. The only people to have ever been fucked up looking were the Three Stooges at Heaven's Arena, and that's because they got mutilated and deformed. So, she gotta be the victim of something. You listen to her, and her voice is very clearly still young, youthful, and feminine. Like she is that of a young, beautiful girl in age and soul, but in appearance, she gotta be under some sort of spell or curse or something horrible happened to her. Like the redheaded woman from Game of Thrones, or the people who tried to open the Ark of the Covenant in Indiana Jones. Same with the guy in the last Crusade who tried to drink from the wrong chalice. I'm trying to think of other examples, but my memory is failing me right now. My brain is also fried, and I'm super tired and sick. But you know what I'm trying to get at? Did something happen that fucked her up? But the weird thing always about curses is you gain something from them for some reason. The concept that it's a gift and a curse, you know? Hence why they're curses. Did she end up with super hearing as a result, but the major consequence for whatever her actions were was that her natural beauty was stripped away from her? I don't know. I really want to also talk about what's his name? Basho. I really want to talk about Basho's ability. Not so much his actual ability, but the precedence or precedent, whatever one, that it sets on my future understanding of Nen. Because this introduced some huge fucking stuff into the mix. I've already talked about how I'm starting to understand Nen to be this extension of oneself, the tangible manifestation or physical expression of one's willpower, determination, directly wired to your emotions, your thoughts, your desires, your actions, or I guess the most appropriate word would be will. Kurapika has to find a pair of harvested scarlet eyes, but no one in the Kurta clan remains except for he himself. So, he will either have to steal a pair of already collected eyes, or what if, like I was theorizing, there would be no better way to earn the trust of the people you wish to infiltrate than by sacrificing your own eyes to them. And the willpower to do such a thing is transferred and harnessed into your aura, imbuing you with immense additional power. I almost think of Nen as a sixth sense, and losing one's eyesight, one of the primary senses, willingly so, would strengthen your aura as a result. Kind of like Daredevil from the comics. He was blinded, but as a result, all of his other senses were super heightened. Or remember in One Piece, episode 5, Luffy said you have to have 100% resolve in putting your own life at stake. I feel like that quote is could heavily be used to talk about Hunter x Hunter and the Nen system. 100% resolve. Nen probably works in the exact same way. If you are willing to put your own life at stake, if you make your death a direct, willing possibility into the universe, does this cause your aura to fucking skyrocket in potentiality, making you more powerful? The fascinating and badass dichotomy of you are so willing to die that it imbues you with so much more power, making you that much more difficult to kill. That would be fucking badass. And I'm starting to see this with Basho, confirming the existence of conditions and limitations and oaths, I guess. Basho is the great haikuist, wandering haiku poet. Even though, in my opinion, his haikus are pretty bad. Or is that the point? Is it like the better the haiku, the greater the result? And better meaning more specific with greater conditions, a stronger oath or limitation? I don't know. I picture it like trying to trap a gas in a large container. Let's get into chemistry here for a moment. Trying to trap a gas in a large container and then releasing that gas. Not much pressure, therefore not much release. Whereas you try to contain the same amount of gas in a container a fraction of the size, you screw on that cap, it's under considerably more pressure, and the more pressure yields a greater explosion when you try to unscrew that cap. Everything that comes into contact with my fist will completely burn. A very shitty haiku, and a very generic statement. No limitations or conditions whatsoever, really. Just whatever he punches will catch on fire and burn. Gas or Nen potential trapped in a very large container or a very poorly thought out condition. As we saw, and as Basho even remarked, the chair didn't burn very well. In fact, it barely did at all. It was only when he created a condition with greater restrictions that the power surged. You saw, first time around, only the paper itself gained that shroud of aura activation around it. But through the second statement, his entire body was shrouded. To me, indicating it to be a much stronger condition. The same amount of gas, but trapped inside a much smaller container, causing much more pressure and a potentially much stronger explosion. This condition being, any person who responds untruthfully to my question will be burned. Here, multiple things seem to exist in this statement. Basho is displaying emotion, which I know to affect Nen from my previous observations. He's made a condition with greater restrictions, and in that condition, he expresses desire. He wishes to find out the truth. Conditions are more just so general parameters, you know. It reminds me of coding. If any of you are in computer science or engineering or have extensive experience in, you know, MATLAB, Stata, or Python, or any coding language, something as, or even something as simple as Excel. Let's go with Excel. I think everybody's used Excel. If you are familiar with conditions already, you know, writing if-then statements, you know, like say, man, I'm just going with the metaphors and the analogies today. Say you're a teacher with your class's test grades in an Excel sheet, a row of different grade numbers for each student. And then in the next row, you want to have it say pass or fail depending on the grade, or have it show the corresponding letter grade. But you don't want to have to go in and do that manually for like 50 fucking kids. You don't have to do that. You just use a simple if-then statement. Literally just typing in your conditions, and if those conditions are met, then you get this result. So, for example here, if cell A2 is greater than 65, then pass. If less than 65, then fail. So, if cell A2 is greater than 65, in that next row, it would write pass. And if it wasn't greater than 65, if it didn't meet that condition, you would have it so it would then write fail, And you would highlight all the rows underneath to repeat that statement for cell A3, A4, A5, and so on. Or you can make the condition even more specific by using if and statements. If cell A2 is greater than or equal to 80 and less than or equal to 90, then B. And you highlight each row to repeat the equation to show the student's letter grade. If and statements, if or statements, if then statements, if not statements are so useful. That's what I think of here. If a person lies, then they will burn. I think surely Kurapika will have conditions or limitations of his own that make his abilities way more powerful too, especially since Mizukin told him a conjurer going up against a master enhancer would have a pretty damn hard fight. Kurapika wants to become even more powerful and be able to beat anyone he comes across. So a great way to do that would be pressurizing your abilities. Squala is an interesting character to me for sure. Mysterious. There also seems to be so many manipulators. Him, Tocino, Baise. I don't know, just interesting. Not a single enhancer or transmuter or emitter confirmed yet in this group. I'm still waiting on Melody, I guess, but Squala doesn't have an official license, but he is a hunter nonetheless. And I'm like, how can you call yourself a hunter if you don't even have a license? I thought that was the whole point. You can't I don't know. Did your dumbass lose it? Did you not take the exam? If you didn't take the exam, why would you bother calling yourself a hunter at all? Just call yourself a Nen user. Or is he not really a hunter and he just calls himself that? Sure, I can say I own a car and I drive. I do own a Jeep and I drive it. But I can't just be driving around without my license on me. You have to be a licensed driver to legally drive a car. Someone who knows how to drive a forklift could apply to a warehouse job, but I don't think no warehouse is hiring that person if they got no forklift license. Ain't nobody having that kind of liability shoved up their ass. So, is he just like someone who learned Nen on their own outside of professional hunter training, as done through the exam, like a Hisoka or an Illumi, who clearly knew and mastered Nen well before the exam, or Zushi, who is even younger than Killua and Gon, but he's learning Nen from Wing, a hunter, well before ever testing to become one himself. Now, pause. I'll just add that I never wanted to be Squala so bad when he got enslaved by Baise. She's that hot. I wanted her Louboutin stepping on my forehead. When I say step on me, that's what I be talking about. Now all we gotta do is evolve to spitting in my mouth. I'm down to begin submissive sometimes. I never wanted to be kissed and put on a love spell and to then be stepped on and treated like a dog from a porcelain-skinned, pink-haired, green-eyed, big-boob woman like herself so bad. Times like these, you really did wish art imitated life. Yes, it is late. Therefore, yes, it is prime horny hours right now. I digress. Squala, he's got to be a pretty powerful manipulator. Way more powerful than Tocino. Tocino could only control around 10 fake mercenaries using basic attacks and had to be close to the action. Squala was able to use his nen on the dogs that can be found all around the mansion. He could even separate his nen control by breed. The Maltese were ordered to attack at the feet. St. Bernards were to bring them down to the ground once they, got slowed and smothered. Dobermans come in and finish off the target, and he could have kept going. He was doing all of that, maintaining all that control while being inside the room with everybody else, far away from the dogs. So to me, Squala makes Tocino look like a rookie piece of shit nen user. But when Tocino said he had seniority, did that include over Squala as well? Because I'ma frankly disagree with that. So we got 2 conjurers, Kurapika and Basho, a manipulator, Baise, and I don't know for sure what Melody is. Either emitter or manipulator. She doesn't want to divulge such information yet, which is smart. Exactly what Kurapika is thinking too. I noticed Kurapika purposely chose not to answer Tocino when he suspected he was a manipulator, and refuses even now to share such an intimate, critical aspect of oneself, because that's exactly what it is. Kurapika don't know these strangers. He's not going to call them allies, let alone friends. No way. Just as no one is more perceptive, no one is more disciplined and cautious. He won't even share his name. So I got no fucking clue who the random guy tied up was. That I'm not even going to attempt or to predict or guess. I'm going to just wait for that to be explained. My literal only guess would be someone who applied before, or someone they hired before that failed them or did something stupid or did something wrong. And this is a place that just doesn't tolerate mistakes, or these are the type of people who you don't just get fired and let go and you just get to go back living your regular everyday schmuck life with all this new information gained about these very esoteric, private, illegal people, but I don't know yet. I also just see Maluki trespassing, overbearing, overreaching, and dipping his toes into someplace he ain't supposed to be, and he gonna wind up dead or kidnapped or tortured or something. It's just the vibe I'm getting off of him. In my experience, with movies and shows, how many I've watched, I always see obsessives blindly fall off a cliff or lead themselves to their own downfall or demise, I don't know whether it's literally like what's his name from Lord of the Rings, who was obsessed with the ring? Gollum? Was that his name? I don't remember his name. I think that's his name. I don't know. I don't care. I didn't like those movies. I don't know whether it's appropriate or not to call him obsessed, so maybe I'm reaching. Maluki is definitely becoming more interesting, though. I don't like him because of his attitude, but I do like him because of how interesting he could end up being. Like the computer genius hacker engineer that he is, that sounds fucking badass. Plus, he's a fucking Zoldyck assassin. He just has a shit attitude and he's annoying, but you can't have everything. Gon and Killua arrive at York New City. They're a couple weeks early, so have to occupy their time until reunited with friends once more. They ended up trading the memory card for the Hunter's only site URL, so that'll probably be what we see them venturing into, exploring the dark web for information on Gon's father or Greed Island or even the auction, I don't know. and seeing our characters now compared to the flashback frame we saw of our old squad when they first separated ways, I was like, holy shit, wow. 6 months flies by while at the same time feeling like years with the looks of our characters and the extents to which they have grown. That's what I'm going to be excited to see. Like, Killua's changed fits like 3 goddamn times so far, and I'm fucking with it. He's got some drip. Kurapika probably already presumes Gon and Killua have also completed their Nen training, and they are Nen users and hunters as well. Oh, wait, Killua is not a hunter. Oh, so Killua could be like similar to a Squala, where Killua is a hunter, but he's not a hunter because he doesn't have a license. That makes sense. Okay, so Squala makes sense in that regard now. I doubt, though, that the two of them have rationalized or thought about for a second that Kurapika is a hunter and a Nen user now, too. But how innocent and small Gon and Killua looked before to how they each look now, rough around the edges, still children, but those innocent, naive faces a little more determined and goal-oriented, more experienced. Gon is after his father, Killua is after his MacGuffin out there. Both 1 in 10 million or whatever Wing said, while Kurapika is just older, more mature, more stoic and disciplined. It will be dope seeing them stare at each other face to face. Kurapika, the conjurer out to annihilate the Phantom Troop, who Gon and Killua may give off a completely different energy, not the same Kurapika they remembered. While Kurapika will look at Gon and Killua, vice versa, two monsters unleashed with pure genetics and natural ability in their favor. Like, Gon's father is Jing Freaks, Killua's father is Silva. Two people I assume to be very powerful Nen users. Kurapika is the one with his elaborate conjuration and established Nen techniques, while Gon is an enhancer possessing the abilities Kurapika envies, and Killua, who knows what he's capable of. I've already stated I see him almost like an electricity user, like a fucking Emperor Palpatine, turning his aura into electricity. Like how perfectly does that fit a pale-skinned kid with silver hair and blue eyes who we saw endure lethal electric attacks from Railvelt like it was nothing. But both of them haven't taken a minute that we know of to create their own techniques or even brainstorm about it. They're just relying on pure ability, which will balance out with Kurapika, who is complete opposite. So hopefully in that week's time, they also, figure out what the hell they want their techniques to be. Or once they're reunited with Kurapika, maybe they will learn to develop their techniques more. And then, or maybe it'll just come naturally to them in the moment when they're presented with a dire situation. And the first thing they think of is what latches onto them. And then Leorio will just show up as a fucking nobody who ain't shit in comparison. Zero training, doesn't even understand who these other 3 people are now. Just been studying like a nerd. But it's like, damn. Just learn Nen. How OP you must be. You would become to be a doctor who can also utilize Nen and your aura as an emitter, either as a surgeon or a medical doctor. You're going to be getting all the business. But yeah, Kurapika shined this episode, of course. I'll even say, despite seeing applications of his Dowsing Chain as diverse as divination lie detecting to straight up catching bullets, his most impressive moments to me were those that had nothing to do with Nen at all. That's what I really like about this story and these characters. You think this is a power system heavy, oversaturated in abilities and Nen type of story? now that it's established, when no, it's not like the other shonen animes or the other power system animes. Togashi doesn't lean on his power system as a crutch. It's all in the characterization. It complements it. Couldn't be more clear. Kurapika isn't fucking around anymore. He isn't here to make new friends like before. It's SB only, strictly business. Keep every single one of your cards close to your chest. You never know what could be used against you. He's already lost everything. No man is more cautious. No friends, maybe allies. This is the real world now. This isn't the hunter exam where one person passing didn't impede on another's opportunity to do so as well. Well, here, all four of them, Baise, Basho, Melody, Kurapika, are outwardly all competing for the same employment opportunity. I still don't know if only one of them can remain to get hired, or if multiple or all of them can be hired, if all items must be retrieved by, and if they can be by the party together, or as long as one item is retrieved by one person. There are no specifics in this whatsoever, or any incentive to either work together versus alone. All of that is still a mystery. Trust is non-existent in this party, and it doesn't seem like trust building is high priority either, at least for Kurapika, which you can understand. If anybody has an identity or a history to hide because of obvious implications, it's Kurapika. For now, it's awesome to see our two sailor boys poised for adventure on top of that mast, as though it is symbolic of them being on top of the world with literally a whole new continent right in front of their eyes. And with that, I think I'm going to end the discussion here for today. If you enjoyed the video, hitting that like button to let me know is awesome. And better yet, 60% of you watching are not subscribed to my channel. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to stay in the loop. Keep the comments going down below so I can connect with my audience more. And remember, you can always join Jughead's Journey over on my Patreon for early access and exclusive content in return. Having said all that, and with that said, so long, farewell, until next time, be happy, and I hope you have a good one. Peace.